There are a lot of things people don't realize fall under marketing, but reputation management, especially when you think about presenting your business online, is certainly a marketing thing. So I am probably, probably one of the better people in the world to talk about it. I have to deal with it a lot with clients. Oh, look, here we go. Fresno, California. Okay, Roll Tide from Austin, Texas. I like you, Lynn. Roll Tide. That's my alma mater. Fresno, California, Buffalo, New York. We have Chicago, Atlanta, a couple people from Chicago. Okay. Maine, Cleveland, Ohio, Annapolis, Maryland. Hi, Nick. Let's see, Ohio, Snellville, Georgia, Philly, San Diego, St. Louis. Okay, we are here. New York, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, New York again. Okay. Someone is asking if we'll get a recording afterwards. I don't know the answer to that, but I think Colleen will let us know later.
We are working on it. We are
There we go.
working on getting all recordings added to our website. So it won't be immediately after, but soon.
All right. Spoken from Colleen from up in the world of Zoom. All right. We got Virgin Islands. Okay. London, England. We're officially worldwide. Let's get this thing started. Okay, really quickly, let me tell you about who I am. This is not why you're here, so I'm not going to stay here long. But as Colleen mentioned, I founded and CEO One Degree Marketing. We provide outsourced digital marketing services. Elevation Academy is our arm for small businesses and smaller nonprofits, where I do this on a regular basis. I give away the game. It's a subscription style membership for people who have more time than money in their business right now and are managing their marketing themselves. I want you to do it well. The only thing that you really needed to hear from Colleen that she didn't mention, which I'm sure she was going to let me say this, was that I am a mom, wife, and a Target aficionado, which is the most important thing that is in my bio. So let's talk about what we're going to do today. This is a lot of dots. I know, just look at me, stay with me, okay? I'm going to first start with what my goal is for this session. I'm going to kind of define for you what reputation management is. We're going to talk about assessing your reputation, reputation management strategies, proactive management, reactive management, do's and don'ts that just would not fit in any other category. Yes, this is what you can expect all night. How you can track and measure, tools, and then we'll get to questions. By then, you'll either be really tired of me or you will have a bunch of questions. Either way, I'm excited. And again, I know it's a lot, but stick with me. I promise I am here for you, okay? All right. So first off, let me just tell you what my goal, my personal goal is for this session. And, I hate when people read slides, but we're just going to do a little bit of that right now. My goal is that you are going to gain an understanding of reputation management that adds a skill set to your toolbox. Hopefully that skill set strengthens your online presence, fosters deeper relationships with your audience, and furthers your business growth. That's what I'm after. And while in this short time, I'm very realistic about webinars, there's only so much we can do, in an hour and some change, right? And so I can't give you everything, but my hope is that you'll get enough to get you started in the right direction, that it'll take you down a rabbit hole, that it will help you to make an adjustment sooner than later, that it will make things click for you, make you see things differently. That's what I'm after. But something to just change the way that you're thinking about it and get you going in the right direction, or just strengthen the direction that you're already going in. All right. So, all right. I see Julie said the chat's still not working. We got you. I think they're working on it.
We are working on it. Sorry, folks.
All right. So first, let's start with, and I don't know if any of you have ever been in a webinar that I've done, either with Digital Doors or somewhere else. Let me know in the Q&A, which is currently our pseudo chat right now. I typically will tell you assumptions that I have to make. I never assume that everyone is starting at the same kind of understanding. So today, my assumption is that no one knows what reputation management is. And that's okay, right? So I'm going to start by just defining just a little bit about what reputation management is. So kind of by definition, this is the act of managing public perceptions about a business or enterprise, right? However, that could be personal or professional, right? If you are a personal brand, if you are a person who is a consultant, things of that nature, it could be an individual, like a person. It also could be that it's professional. Maybe it is a company. Maybe you've grown beyond yourself. That's great and wonderful. That's perfect. Here's something that I want you to know about this definition is that there is reputation management, yes, but there's also brand reputation management, which is not necessarily the same thing. Brand reputation management is going to be the process of monitoring how customers perceive your brand and taking strategic action to improve that image. So we have the company itself, and we have the perception of the company. And if any of you are marketers by trade, you're all marketers, whether you know it or not. If you own a business, especially if you're a micro enterprise, if you're an individual, right, then you are a marketer. You're typically doing that yourself. Congratulations if you didn't know on being a marketer. But managing your brand's reputation is one aspect of it. And we're going to talk a lot about that. But we'll see little sprinkles of reputation management itself. And I'll be sure to make sure I kind of tell you the difference in here, right? Now, this is the most popular, but not necessarily the most important. What people see and how they perceive us, that's the thing that's typically front of mind for us. That's typically the thing that we're always dealing with: the social media, the digital marketing, the Google reviews, the Yelp reviews. All of those things are the things that are just the most popular. However, you can actually have a great brand reputation and still have a bad reputation as a company if you're not running well. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So let's talk a bit here about the positives and the negatives of what can happen with reputation management. Some of these are pretty simple, right? Positive side, let's start here. If you have a great reputation, inspire customer loyalty, right? Oh my God, I love them. They're wonderful. I love their products and services. We love that because that's the kind of marketing that we're after, the kind that we can't really pay for, which is people being very pleased with what it is that we offer. They love our products. They love our services. Great. If you have a positive reputation, you can drive revenue and growth. Perception of more value. This means you might be able to charge higher prices. So when you think about luxury brands, or you think about any brand that just has a little bit higher price tag to it because of the name, they're able to do that because of a positive and strong brand reputation, right? We value that. We believe that it's worth more. So people decide not to leave money on the table. You think it's more? Why am I not charging you more? That's a pricing strategy for a lot of brands. So having a positive reputation can really afford you the opportunity to increase your prices. It's a thing. Now, whether you feel a way about that, whether that makes you feel cringy or not, I'll let you decide. But it is an opportunity, and it does happen all the time. Internally, if you are a person who has employees, or that you recruit or you hire, if you're at that point in your small business, then you could be attracting higher quality talent because you have a positive brand reputation. That's another element of what's possible when you have a good, strong reputation. On the negative side, you could have decreased sales, right? Someone may find you on Google or however they come across you, whatever the case is, and you tell someone, and we've all been there, right? We tell our friends and we're like, oh my God, I'm going to try this. And immediately the friend goes, I don't know, like I've tried them, I don't love it. And so that reputation is getting ahead of the opportunity that you have as an organization, as a company, as a brand to say, look how great we are. So you could have decreased sales. People could leave because they're not loving the reputation, or they may not come back. That's possible. You could lose customers. And also, it could just be a hard lesson of what your customers want. But that could be a good thing if you're willing to listen. One of the things that our reputation really shows us a lot of times is we're able to see if what we're offering, how we're even presenting ourselves, if that's what our customers want. And while that can be a negative lesson per se, it could be a good thing if you are willing to listen to what it is your customers are saying online. So while that's on the negative side, it could be a positive if you're open to listening, right? And again, I know you may not want to, or I'm not sure if you all want to try the chat again or not, but I will say this, feel free to, we can clear the Q&A later. So feel free to use it if you want to say anything, or if you do have questions, please still use the Q&A. So also in this definition of reputation management, it's a continuous process. And I think that oftentimes, especially small business owners, and I know I'm like this, so if I'm not talking about you, I'll just talk about myself. When we think about some of these things that are support aspects of our businesses, especially in a marketing space, we want to create a document for it or create a thing and move on. Well, unfortunately, reputation management is definitely a continuous process. But because we have these two sides, I want to take this moment just to kind of talk a little bit deeper about that, right? Again, a brand can have a great brand reputation and still have a negative reputation. And so what we mean by that is reputation management is about the experience that your customers are getting. So this is the thing that you do, the thing that you offer, the process that people go through, right? So we're talking about experience, their production practices, sustainability. Colleen says to try the chat. Let's see what we got
We
here.
might have fixed it. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yay!
Ah,
Woo-hoo!
woohoo!
Okay, make sure you change it to everyone so it's not just hosts and panelists,
Yes.
so we can all see each other.
Hooray for modern technology.
Yes, so I'm going to give you all some fireworks. I'm going to show you my Zoom tricks. Boom, look at those fireworks. Woo! Okay. If y'all want to know that later, just drop it in the Q&A. Okay, Colleen, if you will clear our Q&A for us.
I certainly will. Yes. Yes,
For
ma'am.
actual
Will
questions,
do.
that would be great.
Yep.
All right, while you're here and you're using the chat, real quick, everybody drop their favorite emoji and then we'll keep it moving. I like to see what people like to work with. Okay, little smiley faces, purple heart. I love that. Oh, I have a heart zoom trick as well. Boom, look at that. Okay, yes. Awesome, awesome. Okay, here we go. So back to where we were. The little eyeball is different, Doyle, but I'm interested to know what that's about. Okay, so reputation management, right? We're talking about our business itself, how people are experiencing what we're doing, what production process or practices that we're taking people through, sustainability. This is how we get the job done. This is the experience that people are having with us. So we may have a reputation on customer service. We may have a reputation around, how we answer the phone. We may have a reputation on when people, if we have a brick and mortar, when people come through the door, are we saying hello? Are we not? Are we cold? Are our employees very helpful? That can be reputation management. People could love you online and think you have a great Instagram account and think that you're so fun and they love the way that your products look and they want to work with you and they're so excited, but then they get to you and it's not great. So you could have a great brand reputation and that's that perception. You can make changes to branding. If someone doesn't like your branding or if you find that, oh, this is outdated or it doesn't fit my industry, you think about larger brands who have made very large changes. You can change that easily. It might be colors, it might be a logo, it might be a tagline, it might be the way your website looks or functions. Those things are actually easier to change than trying to manage the change of your actual reputation around how you handle your customers. So again, we have that kind of two sides to this. There's the reputation of the company itself, how you are working with people, the products and services, the quality. And then we have the brand reputation, which is what people perceive to be the case, not necessarily what they're getting. And that perception may be very close to true, but the two are different. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes? You with me? Yep. Okay, awesome. I love it when y'all talk back. It makes me happy. All right, cool. So let's move on. So let's talk a little bit about assessing your reputation, right? So where are you right now with your reputation is kind of the first question I want you to ask yourself. So here are a few things I want you to think about. Number one, right? And I'm just assuming that you all are already present in the world, right? It's so easy now I feel like when we all decide to be business owners, we just automatically go, let me start a Facebook page because that's going to make it official, right? Or let me start an Instagram. Let me get my social media handles. It's one of the first things that we do when we get excited about our ideas or whatever the case is. So number one, do all of your own channels reflect current imagery, messaging, and value? So all of the marketing channels that you're using, do they currently reflect all of the messaging and everything that's the case? Don't actually know where that noise is coming from. But anyway, we're going to move right along. So that's the first question is, do all of your own channels reflect current imagery, messaging, and value? So this is the time where the boring marketing one-on-one stuff typically happens. And that's going to be that brand message and all of that, right? That's the first thing we want to ask ourselves, okay? Second, is all of the online info about your business up to date and consistent? That's the next question we want to ask ourselves. This starts with, again, own channels, our websites, things that we have control over. Everybody know what an owned channel, marketing channel is before? Because I keep saying that, and I wondered if we all know what owned channels are. No. Okay, all I needed was one no. So Stephanie, I'm talking to you and everybody else who was afraid to say no. Okay, so owned marketing channels are the channels that you're using. Thank you, Patty Gordon, I'm here for you. All right, those are the channels that you have control over. So your blog, your website, your social media channels, those are owned channels. That means that you have control of them. You have control of what content goes into them. You have control of what they look like, what they communicate. Not necessarily that you actually own them, because I know you don't own Facebook. At least I don't think you do. And if you do, I am so glad that you're here. Look how talented I am. But those are the things that we can control. So we own that because we own the control. Earned media channels or earned marketing channels might be if you did an interview for an agency or a media outlet, that's their content, and you don't necessarily get to decide how they display it, then you don't own that channel. Does that make sense? Everybody with me on that? So when I say owned channels, do all of your owned channels reflect current imagery, messaging, and values? You have control of that. So we just want to make sure that all the things that you can touch, that you do have control over, are consistent, and that's the case, right? The second thing is all the online info about your business up to date and consistent. So we start with the things we can control, but it is sometimes possible that if you've done interviews in the past or collaborations, or if you're about to do a collaboration, that there may be people who are using your assets or using your branding or have a blurb about your company or your brand. We just want to make sure that everything across all the channels that we can see, owned and earned, are consistent and up to date, right? In this assessment of our reputation. The third thing I want you to consider is, are you currently cultivating a positive user experience start to finish? This is on that side of reputation management. So my question to you, and I want you all, we're friends now because we talked in the chat. That's why I do this, so we can get closer. We shared emojis. So I figure we're friends at this point. And so I feel like I need to say this to you. Your customer service journey is a part of your marketing, right? And so it's important that you are currently cultivating some type of experience at all. Hopefully it's positive, right? If you're not, this is a very important question for you. Are you thinking about the journey of your customer? Are you cultivating a positive user experience from the beginning when they find out that you exist in the world, all the way to give me your money, right? That's really, really important. All right. This fourth question is, are you currently listening to customer feedback? Now, for a lot of us, and again, us, we may not have a whole lot of feedback, right? There may not be people who are commenting all day, like, we're not a larger brand, maybe we're not global, in our minds we're global because it is the World Wide Web, hello. But we may not be known by everyone across the globe. We may not be a household name, that kind of thing. So maybe you feel like, oh, I don't have a lot of people to listen to. Maybe, but it's very possible that there are a few people that you could be listening to in different places, both online and social media channels. It could be feedback from customer experiences. There are a lot of places that you might be able to listen and just see if you're listening to that. Are you paying attention to it? And that answer could be yes or no. If it's no, totally fine. We just want to know where you are in the assessment of where you are with reputation and what you can pull on. Now, real quick, let's preview the marketing elements that support these, right? So pop that open just a little bit. So here in your own channels, in case you wondered why we as marketers are like, hey, you need to define your brand tone and voice and message. This is why this matters. Being able to be consistent across your marketing channels, especially your own channels, is really important, but that's a lot easier to do when you've taken some time to do that marketing foundation, that kind of marketing 101, and define your brand tone, voice, and message, right? That's one thing that comes up that's marketing foundation related that most people just don't realize carries through the life of your brand and business. It shows up all the time. For this one, this is where having a brand guide matters. If you do find that you have collaborators, partners, people who have interviewed you, people who are helping you push the message of your brand out into the world and something is off, or if you're vetting some opportunities, You want to make sure everyone is doing the same thing with your logo, that the tone is correct, that you're even aligning with the right people. If you have a brand guide, which again is another one of those marketing foundational things, if you have that, it's as easy as a handoff. Hey, I'm excited to work with you. Here's our brand guide. It's going to have the files that you need in different ways that you need. And it also lists a few do's and don'ts for the way that we like to present ourselves as a brand. This helps make sure that you're across the board showing up pretty consistently. That helps you manage your brand's reputation. Because what we want is that if we're collaborating with people, we have partners, and we're sending them to someone else's space, we don't want them to get there and go, oh, what is this? Like, this is nothing like the brand that I'm used to. I thought that this was going to be like the brand that I know. And so we want that consistency there. So in our marketing foundations, having that brand guide can be extremely helpful. Here, this is where defining your customer journey matters. So you're thinking about cultivating that positive user experience. And if you've taken time, again, another marketing 101 kind of tactic, if you've taken the time to really draw out the customer journey from the beginning. I started to follow you on Instagram, and then I joined your email list, and then I went to your website, and then I purchased the thing. I got an email, or maybe if I'm service-based, I set up a meeting or a consultation or whatever that process is for you. If you've taken the time to truly define that customer journey, this plays a great part in trying to see with your reputation if you're maximizing all the opportunities along that journey. So this is another one of those things that we as marketers say that people are like, oh, I don't have to do that right now. It's like, you don't have to do it right now, but it's going to come up again, right? And here, this is where community management matters. Listening to your audience, and we'll talk a bit about community management a little bit later in this presentation, but community management is important. I define, and most people define community management, is basically being out in the world with the people. And this is both online and offline. So in an online perspective, since we're talking about online today, when you put up a post on social media, or you put a blog post up and people comment, are you responding to them? Are you paying attention to that? Do you like those comments? Do you talk back? So community management really matters along the journey of managing your reputation. So while it's important just for great social media marketing in general, it's actually extremely important as well for the process of reputation management. All right. Now, if you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, how am I going to assess this? Where do I go? Here are a few places that you can go. One, you can start by searching customer reviews. So if you are getting reviews on Google, Yelp, if you're getting reviews on your Facebook page or anywhere that people can, talk about how they feel, which we all like to do as humans, it's really easy to do that these days. Search your customer reviews, take a look at that, see what's happening with that. Also, you may want to review other websites. So there are websites that are happening out there in the world that have your information, forums, Reddit, any of those places where you might find that your industry is being talked about. Because think about this, while you may not own that media, if there's a forum where people are sharing recommendations, people love to, I know it's older people a lot of times too, love to get on Facebook and go, I need a recommendation for this thing, right? It's me, I'm older people. But I need a recommendation for this thing. Are people saying your name, right? So looking at different forums, if there's something specific to your industry, you may want to look around on different websites where people are often giving recommendations or giving feedback, right? Look through social. So while you may be thinking about, oh, well, people don't really talk on my own stuff, look at your competition stuff. You would be surprised how many people are bold enough to say your name in your competitor spaces. They don't care. People out here are wild. Like, they just say whatever they want to say in the comments, and that's fine. That's what they want to do. But you can look around and look through social media to see if there are other places that your brand shows up. I also want to kind of say here in this space that I ask too, that while you're looking around, you just pay attention to what people are saying to your competitors. What is their community saying? What are their comments look like? What do these people care about? Because if you are competitors, then it's possible that there's something you can pull out of that. Now, that's a little bit off of reputation management and just on good marketing in general, but I thought you should know. Then we have Google and other search engines. Google yourself. Look yourself up. you should see what other people see. And while I know the first thing that we're thinking to ourselves we want to do is go on and say, oh, let me go look up 1 Degree Marketing. I mean, yes, but also we also want to look up what we feel like other people are searching for that should lead them to us. And this is where we get into SEO tactics and things of that nature. But do you come up, right? Are you getting enough hits for it to move? When you go to images, are your product images showing up? Are your social media images showing up? Is that actually happening? That helps you understand maybe where you're falling. And for some of us, we're maybe nowhere near that right now, and that's okay. But we want to have, again, this is an assessment. This is just where are we? And if where we are right now is kind of ground zero, cool, you're getting started and that's wonderful. And we're going to keep it moving from there. Everyone still with me? It's quiet in the chat. Say something to me. Hello? Hey, yeah. Yes, okay, still here. Great, awesome. I love exclamation points. I appreciate that. All right. Linda said y'all are listening. I love that. All right, so let's talk about strategies here. I'm gonna sip this coffee right here. Thank you. Eric said it's great information thus far. I appreciate that.
Hey, Jackie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but since we have a natural break here in the presentation, there were a couple of questions that came up in the chat I wanted to bring to your attention, and there's two in the Q&A.
All right.
Nick Myers talked about when you asked the questions about own channels, they said that theirs are not up to date mainly due to capacity, and asked if there were any AI tools that you would recommend for that.
You know, honestly, I want to say, Nick, it's okay to take your time with that. It is not as pressing as we would all like to make it sound. So I would say starting with, website, making sure your website is good and up to date. At that point where all of the things on your website are clear, up to date, across the board, at that point, you really can task that to anyone on your team to say, hey, could you just spend this week, take 1 hour out of your day and make sure that this blurb that we say on our website that we work so hard to craft shows up on all our social media. So it doesn't have to be something that is a large thing. I think that it would take you longer to try to prompt that with AI than it would for you to just take some time and go through it. And that's, very Jackie Jones of me, because I'm very laid back about how we approach this, but it's not a deal breaker. So we want to change it. We want to update it, but because it's a continuous process, I don't want you to feel pressed about that. Okay. So make sure the biggest thing for me is always your website. And that's because Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and everything else, you're at the mercy of whatever those platforms are going through that day, that week. If something goes down for a while, whatever, but your website, typically you can keep pretty clear, up to date. It's the biggest place, the most important place that people typically will go to find information. If that's up to date, then you can slow trickle it everywhere else. So don't let that be too pressing to you. It is important, but it is not a deal breaker. So please, by all means, take your time and don't worry about trying to find a tool for that. Where am I looking? Q&A, Colleen?
There was just one other from Jeff. Esmonds was admiring the emojis earlier and was asking where they should be using emojis. Should they be? Jeff is not currently using them.
Just in content, you mean, Jeff? Clarify that for me. If you mean just using them in your content and in different places, is that what we mean? Let me know in the chat if that's the correct question that you're asking. In emails or on webpage. So not on the webpage. Particularly, and again, this is a brand tone and voice thing. Let me start with that caveat. If your brand tone and voice says, yes, people know they're going to get emojis with us wherever they go. We're a fun company. That's how we like to present ourselves. And by all means, that's totally fine. There's probably a better way to utilize it on a website than it being in the text. I would not do it in the text, but there may be some ways for you to incorporate that kind of tone about your brand on your website. So yes, and I guess you can say, but as far as emails and social channels and things of that nature go, if that's what your brand voice and tone is, then by all means, go for it, right? Go for it. Me personally, as you can see, I'm very laid back, but being consistent is what we're after. So you want to define that. And if in that definition emojis show up, if that's what your audience likes, if your audience uses emojis when they talk, when they comment, do they use emojis? Then they should be just fine with you using them, right? So take some time to develop your brand tone and voice, and that'll answer that question for you. But it is acceptable. It's not a bad thing. We're going to get these 2 questions out of Q&A really quickly, and then we're going to move on just because I see y'all asking even more questions as we go, but I want to make sure we get all our stuff. So I'll get these 2 out of the Q&A, and if you have a question, you can drop it in into Q&A. We have another here that says, when is it best to leverage an outsourced digital marketing agency versus hiring a digital marketing expert? And Nick, do you mean a digital marketing expert that is internal to your team as opposed to outsourcing? Or do we mean a person versus an agency? Help me know which one you mean. And then another question while you clarify that, are there significant differences if we're B2B service rather than B2C? Yes, but yeah, the answer is yes, because they're different kind of conversations, and the goal that you have around how you show up online is very different when it comes to service. Ask me how I know. But it is possible that you need to show up a little differently, and your expectations certainly have to be different. Typically, what you're doing with your reputation is about brand awareness and making sure that when people come to validate the things that you said you are, that you can do, that, you know, you decide, this is what I want people to see as they're validating, I am who I say I am. And so, yes, it's a little different. It's just more important for service typically to be able to flex that expertise, showcase that you can do what you say you can do, because oftentimes in service, we're asking for money before we do the service. So that's important in those spaces. So yes, it's a slightly different approach. Even with our success stories and case studies and things of that nature have a different value sometimes than they do for retail or for products. All right, I didn't see the clarification, so we'll move forward, but feel free to drop that back in Q&A about whether it's an agency versus a person, or if it is outsourcing versus internal. All right. Awesome. I love how much y'all are talking to me. That makes me happy. All right, so let's talk about strategies real quick, okay? So there's 2 types of strategies that we typically run into with our reputation management, okay? The first one is proactive. Taking preemptive measures to fortify your online reputation before any negative content emerges. Now, wouldn't that be perfect, right? That we never have this problem in the first place. And I hope for you, just know it is my sincere desire that you never have to chase the ball, right? You never have to go after it. But in the world of social media, in the world of digital marketing, who knows what you'll run into, right? That's a proactive thing. The second one is reactive, clearly, right? Comes into play after negative content about your brand has already surfaced. So it's already out there in the world, and this may be on a small scale or a large scale. For some of us, it may be, oh, one bad comment. Somebody says, oh my goodness, I use this product, especially this happens all the time. And tell me if you've seen this. You see a paid ad or a sponsored ad on social media, and there's comments and people are like, scam, like this is horrible. Customer service never got back to me. And it's like full of these comments of not so great things. Then people are typically having to be reactive. Have you all seen that? I see it. I'm just like, why are you still running this ad? It's crazy. Close the comments or do something, because there's no way I'm giving you my money under these circumstances. I'm just not. Nobody's happy. It's not great, right? Now, here's the pro tip. No matter which one of these things you find yourself doing, it's important that you take some time to decide in advance whose job is it to monitor this stuff. Someone on your team. And you may decide to outsource this. I'll give you some tools later, some platforms later that you can maybe use. But decide in advance whose job is it going to be to just check in and see how things are going. Now, again, similar to an answer I gave earlier, if you are not experiencing a ton of reviews, a ton of if that's not the case for you, then okay, somebody can drop in, every Monday or every Friday or twice a week and just check, look through, make sure things are good, make sure nobody is upset. Once a day, take 15 minutes, go through. Most of us spend time on our phones scrolling aimlessly. Give yourself a little bit of aim. Whose job is that going to be? So whether you're being proactive or reactive or both, which can be the case at the same time, make sure you know whose job that is, okay? So the proactive life, let's talk about that. First of all, we want to have quality products and services. And we talked a little bit about this on the reputation management versus brand reputation management. Whether you realize it or not, every aspect of your customer experience is marketing. Every touch point, every time someone says something to you, every time they click on something that you've asked them to click on, every time they read a post, every time they get an email, all of that kind of stuff, every time they do that, it is a marketing opportunity for you, whether you are doing anything with it or not, to be determined, right? So here we go. Are you truly solving your customers' problems? Is your product or service functional? Is it durable? Is it reliable? Products, services, is it the thing that you've identified they actually need? Now, I know we all feel like the answer to this is yes, right? That's our assumption. Our assumption, I have to make sure my light stays on, so I have to move around. But our assumption is that, yes, of course, my product is great. And trust me, I think you're great. Just want to say that. And I think your product's great too. But have we aligned these two things, the right audience with the right product or service? What problem are you solving? You're welcome, Gordon. What problem are you solving? Are you clear about that? Is it everything that you say you are? And does it actually solve that problem? Do they know that? Do they believe that? So we want to make sure that that quality is there. The second element here that you can consider is customer service. How do customers, and we're thinking about being proactive, right? One, am I solving the problem? What is the problem? Have I clearly defined that? Have I defined it in the words that my audience defines it in? The second thing I'm thinking about is my customer service. How do customers contact me regarding issues? If you do not currently have the answer to that, and if you say, oh, my contact page on my website, then you're like most of us. But trust me, most people will go to whatever is convenient for them. So we have to be very clear in our communication and when we're being proactive with our reputation management about what people should do if they're having a problem. Otherwise, we leave them out to decide whatever they want to do, and goodness knows is never what we want them to do, right? So how do customers contact you regarding issues? How long, that's supposed to say long, I'll change it before I send slides out. How long does it take you to respond? This is a very important question. If you haven't determined a customer service process or thought about this journey, I want you to think about the turnaround time that it takes for people to say, I have a problem, and for you to, one, acknowledge that, two, actually do something about it, and three, confirm that all is well. How long does that typically take you? Think about that. Also, how are you making it easy for your customers? Are you making it easy for your customers? If you are not, then that's something you should think about. We want their money, right? We want their money. We want it to be easy for them to give it to us. We want it to be easy to keep it and for them to keep coming back. So we want to be thinking about our customers' experience as a form of proactive reputation management, making it as easy as possible for them to do business with us. An hour or less, Aurora, that's impressive. I don't respond to emails within an hour. Colleen knows. That's not true.
That's not true. You're very responsive.
I respond to Colleen's emails. So if anybody else that emails me is on this call, I apologize. Colleen is special. Okay. Here's my tip for you. Consider creating a customer experience strategy. This is a great way to be proactive about your reputation management. And what we mean by this is thinking about that customer journey and just really highlighting and being creative about ways that we can show up for our customers and make sure that their experience stays positive as much as possible. Because raise your hand, just with emojis, not like actually in Zoom, because you have to be careful there. Raise your hand if you've had a problem with a product or service, but because they've been so nice to you along the way and it's been so great along the way, you're just a little like, well, I mean, it's not a big deal. I just want you to fix it. You know, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to get on your social media and go crazy. You know, they'll fix it because it's been such a positive experience along the way. That, Jeff, you're not gullible. That's all of us, right? Because we appreciate the attention to detail. That means that likely they have a good customer experience strategy. I want you to think about that for your business. What could we be doing? What could I be doing, right? To make sure that this experience is the best that it can be, because inevitably in life, there will be problems. But having a problem, having an issue with your product or service doesn't mean that we're bad company, because you know us. Your experience has been great. We want to be able to lean on that. That's proactive reputation management. Does that make sense to everyone? Does it feel manipulative too? Yeah, marketing's manipulative. It's okay. All right, here we go. Also on the proactive life here, marketing and content. So when we think about our reputation management on the proactive side, here are some things that you could be doing in your marketing and content publishing that help that. Blog posts, right? Sharing your expertise, being a resource, DIY. And even if you're product-based, being able to have a space where you educate people and be able to say, hey, you can come to me for information, that kind of thing, and we're going to give you everything you need. That's great proactive reputation management. It says, I care enough about what you care about to break it down for you for free. We love that as consumers. Also, you may want to consider sharing success stories. This could be on social, it could be on your website, case studies, videos, however people will give it to you. You're just going to grab that and then publish it out and say, hey, look, we're not the only people who think we're great. Here's a bunch of people who have had a positive experience. This is good defense, right? This is to say, if someone says, I had a bad experience, you almost want everyone else to go, I don't know, that must have been a bad day. Because every time I've dealt with them, or all of the things that, you know, have gone on have always been good. Look at all these success stories. That's great proactive reputation management. Then also maybe creating and maintaining a vibrant, active social media presence, showing up, being relatable, making people know, like, and trust you. You know how we like to say that as marketers. Having that space where you are showing, I know, Lindsay, it's my fault. It's my fault, I'm sorry. Having people show up on your social media channels and all of these channels where you're being engaging and being exciting. If you're an exciting brand, maybe you're just being very, you know, full of value. Maybe you are just answering questions and being a great resource. Or maybe you are just, you know, being very comforting and encouraging and very high five. Whatever the case is, you're maintaining it and it's good. That's great proactive reputation management. Also, I want you to utilize, and I've said this a few times already, but I want you to utilize your website to communicate, frequently asked questions, and to educate your customers. We want to know that we've put the things that are potential issues out there in the world in advance. This way, we can say, hey, one, they have a place to research it, and hopefully they read, which that's a whole thing. But two, we want to be able to reference people to a space that's already created. Now, while that may seem a little petty, right? It may seem a little petty to say, oh, I'm just going to, you know, throw a link out there every time someone has an issue and I'm in the comments. No, it's to say, hey, we've thought about this for you. We care enough to have already explained this and broken it down. We know you're not the only person who has this problem. That's essentially what you're saying. I've thought about what your needs are as a brand, as a company, and because I want you to have all the information that you need to make an informed decision, to have a good experience. Look, I actually already did that. I already gave it to you, right? So want to just make sure that we're doing that in a space that we can control. Also on the proactive life, again, these are marketing foundation things. Again, just a reminder here of a few things that you can do that support that. Having a brand guide, having that document that says, here's my logo, here are my colors, here are my fonts, here's how we talk about ourselves, here's the tone that we take. These are the kinds of spaces that we like to be in. Here are the things we don't like. Here are the ways you cannot utilize our brand. Here are the things we don't want to be with. Now, while you may not think this is important, sometimes I saw recently, one of the examples that I found as I was doing a little bit of research was there was a blog post on a website, like a medical website, about people with a fear of ducks. Okay, stay with me. This is important. People with a fear of ducks. I can't remember what it was called, but the example was showing how Aflac had an ad on that page, which likely they did not place the ad. They probably did not decide that, right? But it makes sense. Insurance, medical site, right? People need insurance for things. It seemingly makes sense. But somewhere it's very possible that they could have said, hey, when you are placing our ads, or if you're helping us with this, if we're doing partner collaborations, here are some spaces we probably should not be in. That might have been in their brand guide. Or maybe they never thought about the fact that people have a fear of ducks, because maybe they would have rethought the mascot. Anyway, just to say, there are lots of ways that could come up. Having a well-defined brand tone, voice, and message is important. Marketing strategy and social strategy is very helpful. If you already have decided in advance what it is you're trying to accomplish, what your business is trying to accomplish, and how you're going to show up in marketing channels doing that, then you're more likely to be in a good place. Social media strategy is the same way. Also, having a content plan and actually executing it is also really, really helpful when you're being proactive. Already knowing what's going to happen, having published content that helps you do the proactive things, answer the questions, talk about the quality of your product or service, highlight those success stories or case studies or your portfolio or a gallery or whatever shows that you are actually doing the thing that you're doing and people love it. Having that in your content plan outside of buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. No one wants to be friends with someone who is always like, can I have some money? We don't want our brands to be that, right? We want our brands to be relatable. We want them to highlight these things. We want to be proactive about managing our reputation. All right, this is blank for me to take a coffee break. I have to build in reminders to take a break, y'all. All right. Also, the last thing I'm going to say, I believe this is the last thing I'm going to say about the proactive strategies, and we'll go to reactive, is I need you to take a mindset shift, okay? In the chat, type mindset shift, all right? Again, I want you to remember that quality digital marketing is more than about sales. It's about teaching your audience who you are, what you offer, teaching them how to engage with you and enjoy the benefits, products, and services, and answer the questions that they're researching. So I need you to shift your mindset around what exactly is happening, right, in these spaces. Does that make sense to everyone? Because that's very important. It's a mindset thing. Because oftentimes when we go to social media, we go to digital marketing, we go to these spaces, we're thinking, I've got to make sales. I've got to get leads. And that is important. It is definitely very high level, right? That's really important. That's how we stay in business. That's great. But that's not all. That can't be all. In order for us to be proactive in managing our reputation, but also in deepening our relationship with our audience. Having that deep relationship is going to help us when something should arise, which inevitably could happen, right? So I need you to shift your mindset about what it is and how you're showing up and what the value of these digital marketing spaces really mean to you, your business, what you offer, and the people that you're offering it to. All right. Authenticity, transparency, genuineness are key. Typing genuineness was really weird to me. Anyway, reactive life. Let's get into this. So let me just set the scene for you real quick. Something has happened. Something has happened because reactive reputation management says that something is going on and now we're thinking about it later on, right? Okay. So a guide for responses is one great thing that you can do to make sure that you are being reactive in a good way, because this can be really, really bad if you haven't thought about this. So let's talk about what goes into this guide that you're going to create. What comments, reviews, feedback will we respond to? Spoiler alert, you're not going to respond to everything. Don't respond to everything. That's not a good idea. Just look at me. Are you looking at me? Okay. Don't respond to everything. Everything does not require your attention. Some people are just trolling. Some people are just out here never happy and looking for opportunities to be negative. So in your guide to responses, you want to just make sure that you decide what things you actually will respond to. It may not be everything. It shouldn't be everything. Also in your guide, you want to use your brand tone and voice, that definition that you made, to craft responses, response tones. So for example, in a positive tone, if there's a positive message, because again, we're going to respond not only to negative things, even though we're talking reactive, we want to think about the positive as well. One, we will respond to positive comments with gratitude and fun, supportive comments. Now that sounds very professional. That's my job. I'm a marketer. I'm supposed to sound, it's MasterCard Digital Doors. After all, I have to be professional. But I want to put that in the context of what it might sound like on Instagram. So here I'm saying, respond to positive comments with gratitude and fun, supportive comments, right? Also known as, yes, I love that. That's a fun, supportive comment, right? It is. It says, I am acknowledging that you said something to me. It's positive. I love that for you. You look great. Do the thing. Like, it's the same thing. So I want to make sure you don't read that, right, in a very professional way and can't translate it to real life. So positive comments, and you may decide this is how you respond. You may have other things, right, that you may want to respond with. Negative comments. So we're building our response guide. You may decide we will respond to negative comments, apologize or not. Well, if you have questions about my or not, let me know. Offer steps to address concerns offline. So you may decide, if we've decided, yes, we're going to respond to this comment, first, we're going to acknowledge it. We're going to apologize or not apologize. That's up to you. And then we're also in that response going to offer the way that they should go. The link, the email address, DM me, whatever that call to action is, we're going to decide that in advance. That's all we're going to do. What you also may want to put in this guide is, how many times will we engage? This is an important question. I had a client, this was a while ago, who had an issue where it kind of probably felt like they were being attacked. Now, they shouldn't have been responding in the first place, but that's a whole other story. But when people would comment, they tried to have a response to it. But the problem was that the person would respond and then they would go and respond. And next thing you know, we're in a back and forth. In your guide, decide in advance how often, how many times you're going to respond to it. That answer may just be, all we're going to do is this. We're saying nothing else. We will not engage. For other people, listen, if you're like Wendy's or some of these brands who like to clap back, by all means, go for it. If that is what you've decided, that is what you've decided. But having a guide around that is really, really important. Also, this goes from the two sides, from brand reputation management to reputation management. This is good for, all this guide is good for the brand reputation management, how we're handling this in a public forum. But also, this bottom one goes to the other side. What's the actual process after that online engagement? What are we going to do after that? So you address the negative comment, you apologize and said, hey, I am so sorry that you had a not so pleasant experience. It is our goal to make sure that you enjoy this product, right? Great. If you will email us at this.com, then we're happy to discuss and try to solve that for you. I need you in this guide to define for yourself in advance what happens after that. When they send that email, who's going to respond? Is it priority? How are we going to deal with that? Because it's not just about what they said online now. It's also about converting this person, right? We want to take them from negative to positive. That's our job. Now, we can't solve it. We can't solve it. We can't solve everything, right? That's a part of life. But what is the process after that? I don't want you to get so hung up on what it looks like that you don't fix what it is, okay? Also, we can use, and we talked just briefly about community management earlier, community management as a tool. This is the talking back to people, right? We're talking to people, we are engaging with them, we're responding to their comments, positive, negative, maybe that's what we've decided to do. But here are a few things I want you to know. Do not be afraid to report, hide, block spam comments or harassment. Again, sometimes you do have people trolling, you do have people who are not being honest. It could be bots, it could be all kinds of things. Don't be afraid to hide, report, block, spam, those types of things. That's not a problem at all, right? Get it out of your way. Now, I hope I don't have to say this, but just in case, do not hide people's real problems, right? Everything isn't positive. I know you don't love it, but it is not in good practice to hide it, because trust me, people will come back and go, oh, they deleted my comment, right? We've seen it. I tried to say whatever, I screenshotted it. Everything lasts forever on the internet. I screenshotted it. This is what I said. They deleted it, and now it's double the trouble. Not only did they have a problem, but now they feel disrespected in some kind of way. But where it makes sense, don't be afraid to just get rid of stuff if it is not yours, if it doesn't serve you, if it's just harassment, if it's spam. Hit that delete button, hide button, report button. That's what it's there for. Also, we want to respond promptly. Pretty straightforward. I don't feel like I have to say much else there. Here's something that I think is really important in reputation management in general. And this is something that's hard for people to embrace. And I get it because it requires us as humans, the humans behind the brand, to say I'm wrong or that I'm imperfect. And human ego does not allow us to manage that always well, which is why it's important you do these things in advance and decide for your company, for your brand, how you're going to operate. Don't be afraid to say, we hear you. Pro tip here. When you say, hey, let's say you're getting the same issue, or let's say something went down, your site went down, or maybe there was a product that was faulty, a bunch of people bought it, and now it's trash, right? Everybody hates it. They hate you. They're online. They're talking about it, dragging your name through the mud, okay? When you make this post that says, hey, let us just say this out loud. We hear you. Pro tip, do not make promises. Acknowledge it. It's a common issue that's coming up. Hey, we hear you. We hear you saying that this is an issue. Communicate that you value their feedback and that your brand aims to provide the best experience possible. That's what you aim to do, right? Hope you do. Really hoping. So we want to say, I see you, I hear you, we hear you saying this is a problem. It is our goal to make sure you have a great experience. And consider adding that you're seeking solutions or that you're in the process of doing something better. That's okay. That's a great reactive reputation management tactic. Just say it with them. Don't hide from it. Don't hide the comments. Just say, hey, we get it. This is not making the mark that we wanted. We're sorry about that, but here's what we're doing. We're going to seek alternatives. We're going to take this down until we figure it out. We've stopped production of this until whatever, if that's the case. But again, we're not making promises. So we do want to acknowledge it and allow ourselves to be transparent and say, we get it, we hear you. We're not going to just sweep this under the rug and keep it moving. So don't be afraid to do that as well. Everybody good? Y'all with me? Sips coffee? Yes. All right. Exclamation points. I like that. Great. Do's and don'ts. All right. Here we go. Here's my do not list. Yes. I love the yeses. Hey, Ebony. Hey, Sabrina. Hey, Patty. Hey, Sherilyn. Did I say that right? I'm hoping I did. I always have to test with at least one name on every webinar. Yes, I got it right. Okay. Do not argue in public. Now, I don't know. I'm from the South, clearly. I don't know how you all's parents raised you, but when we leave this house, I need you to act like you have some sense. That's pretty much what this bullet point says. So if your mother never said that to you, your grandmother, guardian, whoever raised you, let me be the first person to say this to you concerning your digital marketing. When you leave this house, do not cut up, okay? Do not get into these comments and act a fool, okay? I don't know if y'all heard that from your parents, right? Please, okay? Because what you do not want is for these people to meet you where you are, okay? So just do not argue in public. Have that response canned and ready to go. And then y'all can duke it out in the DMs or in the email or on the phone or whatever. Do not argue in public. It's just not a good idea, okay? I'm so glad to know. See, Gordon, your grandmother's from Alabama. I know she told you that. Don't go out here embarrassing me, okay? That's pretty much what this bullet point right here says. Do not go outside embarrassing us. The second one is do not change how you do business, not the flashbacks. All right, do not change how you do business based on every negative review. Someone needs to hear that twice. Do not change how you do business based on every negative review. Don't do that. Don't. Everyone's complaint is not a reason to stop what you're doing and do something different. One, they could just be one person. And even if it's multiple, it may not be worth it. And you need to really assess that before you do it. And two, we can't afford to keep changing directions here, people. We're small businesses. The resources are limited. So we have to prioritize the things that make sense, okay? Here's another important one. Do not attempt to teach them a lesson. I've seen this a few times, and some people do it with some level of taste, but don't go screenshotting and talking about how, you're trying to embarrass them and this person, look what they said about us, and I can't believe somebody would. Don't do that. Just don't take the time to do that, okay? It's not important. It's not worth your energy. And I think unless it is having some astronomical impact on your business, which is typically not the case because it is digital, right? It is a digital space, and it'll be over in like 2 minutes. We'll be on to something that Kanye did by the time, by the time people read that real good. So don't take time to do that, okay? And I saw somebody ask, what if they deserve it? Even if they deserve it, that's not why we're there. We are there to deepen our relationship with our audience and to make money. And we don't want anyone taking our eyes off of what we came to do. That's not what we're trying to do. If you want to teach them a lesson, pick up the phone and have that conversation and say, hey, you need to do better. Otherwise, back to this one, do not go out here embarrassing me, okay? All right, here's our do list, right? When they go low, you go high. Yes, Dominique. Okay, so do list. Do encourage people who left negative reviews to update their review. So let's say that you did have a conversation with them, you did get a chance, the opportunity to talk to them, and things, went well, and they're happy and they're really grateful that you did that. It's okay to say, hey, I'm so glad that we were able to help you. We appreciate you giving us the opportunity. Do you mind, just for the sake of future business for us and for us just managing our reputation just online, do you mind going to update your review? You're not asking them to delete what happened before. And you can clarify that. I'm not saying that you should delete the issue that you had. All I'm asking is that you go and say, hey, update : I talked to the company, and whatever your experience was, if it was positive, we would really appreciate you showing people that we took the opportunity to make this right. Do that, okay? Please take the chance to do that. Also, do encourage reviews when people are pleased. This is a customer journey ad. So when you're doing that definition of your customer journey, don't miss the opportunity to say, hey, go to Google, go to Facebook, go to our website, wherever you're collecting these, and leave us a review. Go to LinkedIn, go wherever matters to me, and say how great of an experience that you've had. I love that you're saying it to me. Or if they email it to you, shoot them an email back and say, hey, do you mind if I use this in a public forum? Do you mind? And if, let me know if you want me to remove your name, but do you mind if I use this for social media content? Encourage people who are having a positive experience to share. Please do that. Also, do understand that feedback is a part of the journey. You can't make 100% of the people happy. I am so sorry. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but there's some kind of statistic out there in the world, don't make me lie to you, that says that everybody won't be happy. I can't remember the percentage, but the fact that it exists is enough. Feedback is a part of the journey. And again, we have to be open as small business owners, as people who are seeking to be better and better and better. But what we will never be is perfect. And that's okay. So just know that that's a part of the journey. So here we go. So Jackie, I'm asking myself a question before the many that are over here in the Q&A. So glad to see it. How am I supposed to track and measure this? Now, there are tools, again, I'm going to give you a few in just a minute, but here are a few things that you can do. One, because it's hard to quantify, right? If you're thinking like me, it's really hard to quantify when something is going well or that my reputation is good. Like, what are those numbers? So sometimes you have to ask the questions that give you numbers. This is how we get those customer service things that say 83% of our customers say. Now, that might be 10 people. But 8.3 of them, I don't know how, said that they had a great experience. So that's where those types of numbers for customer service purposes really comes from. Sometimes it's surveying, a lot of times it's surveying in different ways. So if you're building a survey, here are a few things to get you started, right? First thing that you may ask, first thing that comes to mind when you think of our brand. This helps you understand the perception that they're having, more qualitative data, but you want to know what the first thing is that pops in their mind. Hopefully it's something that you've planted there. If it's not, maybe we have some work to do, or maybe you're like, I didn't think of that. And if enough people say it, then you might need to incorporate that in your marketing, right? Another question, which word best describes our brand? Maybe you give them options, maybe you let them decide. What feelings do you experience when you think of our brand, right? Let's test this out in the chat really quickly. I'm going to say a brand, and I need you to give me, let's go back to one word that you have. One word, people. One. Okay. One word. Here we go. Uber. When you hear Uber, one word that you convenient. Okay, look at that. Convenience twice, right? Fast transportation. Okay. Traveling, a lot of convenient, reliable. I didn't see that coming. Ride, Lyft. That's good. That's a good answer. Convenient comes up a lot. Relax. Okay, that's a good one. Friendly. Safety. Someone put safety. Okay. Is it safe was the question, right? Destination. So you see how this can give you an idea. And if I were Uber, if I were someone from Uber and I was on this, hey, if you're here, are we leading with convenience? Is that something that we're putting in our message? Is that what we were after? That's how we use that qualitative data, right? Other questions, how would you describe our brand to a friend? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you recommend our brand? Other ways you can do this is social listening. You want to put your ear to the streets, right? Saying that really, really laid back. Monitor Google alerts. If you have not set up a Google alert for your business or brand or organization, you can go to Google. You can actually Google alerts just in case, get you there really quickly. But you can tell Google, here are the things that I'm tracking. If you want to be very specific, make sure you put it in quotes, but you can say how often you want them to report it to you. So for our clients, as an example, we will make sure that we put some buzzwords, keywords, the brand name, things of that nature, so that when something hits these interwebs, then we get some kind of notification from Google that says, hey, there has been an article about, the Birmingham Airport or the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute or whoever the client is. So that just helps us keep a track of what's happening out there in the world. Monitor those, monitor comments, which we've talked about quite a bit, monitor reviews, which we've talked about quite a bit, monitor forums. Now, remember, as you grow, these things will be more and more. So going back to that pro tip, whose job is that going to be to look into these things or make sure things are going well? Customer journey data. This is another good thing you can build into that customer journey. How did they find out about your company? Right? That's a really, really good question around managing your reputation, because then you know where the majority of people are coming from. So if there are things you can do to be proactive, you know where those spaces are so that you can make sure you manage them well. If it's a Google review and most people say, oh, I Googled you and that's how I found you. What does your Google My Business look like? What does that page look like? Are you utilizing it? Is it branded? Are you making posts? Because you can make posts to Google, right? Are you putting your events or happenings or sales or whatever up there? Because that's a source of people coming. So we want to know how they found out about you. Evaluate products and services. So you may ask them, hey, you've had your product for 2 weeks. Tell us how you love it. Notice the marketer in me didn't say, tell me how you feel about it. It said, tell me how you love it. I'm just going to hope for the positive, right? Go ahead and throw that out there. You love it. Tell me about it, right? Compare with competitors. You may ask, this could be tricky, how does this measure up to other things that you've used? Feeling froggy? Jump on in and ask that question, right? Also, you may want to ask them to rate customer service interactions. If you've ever talked to a chat on somebody's website, then you've seen this. You hang up from the chat and then it's immediately give us some stars. How do we do? Answer these questions. Pops up, comes on the phone call. Do you mind answering these few questions? That's why people need that data. They want to make sure that they're tracking and measuring and managing their reputation well, that they have a pulse on what's going on, and that they're not always just reactive, but they're keeping pace of how things are going, right? All right. At this point, at 6:16 p.m. Central Standard Time. You're one of these two people. You're either ready for the world or you're like, what, ladies, please stop talking to me. All right. And I know we're going to get into which one are y'all? Just curious. Just which side are you on? I want to know in the chat. Ready with all the whys. I love it, Whitney. Right. Okay. I love that my nerves are bad. Thank you, Jay. I love that. I love that. It's stressful, but as is small business ownership, right? All right. Okay, a lot of readies. Y'all are excited. I love that. Okay, here's some tools really quickly. Now, when we send out slides, which I believe is going to actually happen, all of these are linked. So if you're like, oh, I got to go find these people, once you get these slides, just click on it. I took care of the laziness in me for you. So these are just some platforms that help you to gather reviews, be able to see them, be able to manage them in different ways. They kind of have different elements and different services and all that kind of thing. So I won't try to go a deep dive into anything here. Please go and do your due diligence. But note this, don't be in a rush to spend money. That's extremely important for me to say to people, because as a marketer, anytime I'm sharing platforms, I try to remind people we pay for everything as a company because that's our job. That's what my invoices are about, me being able to do these types of things. That's why we pay. But as a small business owner, I recognize that resources, every dollar counts. While you're looking into these, please don't be in a rush to spend money. Just make sure that because there's so much information on all of these sites, but I want to make sure that you take time, do your due diligence, do not use free trials until you are ready to use them. Use them to their full capacity and full capability so that you can make the best decision about how you're spending your money. Speaking of tools, before we get into questions, have you been to Mastercard's Digital Doors Marketing Hub? Listen, let me tell you something real quick. There are so many resources. Today, I'm talking to you about reputation management, which is extremely important in your online presence, but there are so many things that Digital Doors Marketing Hub has for you. Not only do they have a wealth of information and different things similar to what I'm doing, other posts that you can read through, but there are also offers that different brands, including Elevation Academy, which is our subscription style membership, that you can get discounts from for using. There's also Ad Designer, which is a really great tool for you to use if you are like a lot of people making your own graphics and things of that nature. So do make sure that you visit Mastercard's Digital Marketing Hub. Speaking of tools, I want to make sure I say that before I thank you for your time and attention and take any questions that you have. If you are able to, if you're not on your phone, you can scan this right here. That'll give you all the places you can find me in these digital streets. And what I'm going to do is if you're on LinkedIn, which I hope you are, I'm going to put up a post that looks just like this slide, the first slide, and it's going to say after chat. We can continue our conversation there once we finished up if you all want to talk more, but you can find my LinkedIn there and I'll drop the link in the chat. And now I'll answer this question before we go into Q&A. How do I get on Mastercard's Digital Doors Marketing Hub? Colleen, would you like to tell us that?
Yes, you can go to mastercard.us/digital doors, click on promote your business, and you will see the marketing hub.
And that's what that looks like.
Thank you, Jackie, for including that at the end. This was a super session.
All right. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody in the world. All right, here we go. Hi.
Are you okay for a few more questions?
Yeah,
we're okay
good.
on time? Okay.
We're good. Someone at Mastercard said I was signed up for 2 hours. So I'm here. The mug
we can renegotiate if we have to.
No, we're good. We're good. So if you all have questions, I know there are quite a few out there. And if Alan is still on, if you'll drop that link to the marketing hub, that would be great. And really, really helpful. So we're going to start Q&A, or you were working it out there.
So I was trying to, because there were a lot that were similar and some of them we were able to answer. Before we go into the official Q&A, there was some in the chat I didn't want to lose.
Okay.
Shanice, who I think was on one of your webinars last week, has the luxury candle business, and they're getting a ton of website views, but minimal orders. They're using Wix, professional photography. Not sure what's missing.
So something that with this, anytime that you're finding, and this is one, let me first say this, that's a great thing, Shanice, that you're able to see the traffic and that you know people are getting there, which helps you narrow down where the issue may be. So let me just, one, kudos to you for even having that in the first place. Second, I encourage you, first things first, is to go through your own process. And I think that if you were in the space that I think you were in, then you probably heard me say that. Make sure you're walking through that process. It could be a few things. It could be beyond the photos and that thing. It could be about your checkout process. It could be about maybe a link is not working, it's broken. Or it could be in the language of it, right? Are you actually communicating to people what it is that you want them to do, how you want them to do it, how you want them to get to you? Are we being aggressive enough, maybe, in our wording? So there are a few things that could be the case that I would test out, but let me encourage you to test one thing at a time, so that you aren't trying to pull too many levers at once and then you don't know which one of them actually did it. So maybe don't worry about the visuals just yet. Maybe you first start with going through your process, making sure all the links work, making sure nothing's confusing, nothing's awkward or weird, getting the technical part out of the way, and then maybe we change the color of our buttons. Are they large enough? Do they light up enough? You know, are we really showing up and telling people which way to go? Because that's our job, right? To make sure that it's clear and all of that. So then I would go with the messaging, and then I would get to images. So that's how I would address that. Great question.
Fantastic. Thank you. Jackie, this came up on a webinar last week or the week before too. Jeff is asking, in professional services, is Twitter or X still relevant, or should they consider other channels? I know,
Okay.
I know. It's
Disclaimer, I do not love that channel in general.
yeah.
That's me as a person. I don't love it as a marketer either, but that's me as a person and as a marketer, right? So the question is there an evaluation form for this? First of all, that's that link that I was sending y'all. Someone asked about evaluation form.
Thank you.
So X. So there are industries where X is still relevant. And the thing that I want you to keep in mind about this particular platform in general is that it is an open, never-ending conversation. And so the question that I always encourage business owners and people who are marketing for any brands or organizations to consider is, are you able to add value to a conversation ongoing? Do you need to be? Do you care to be? Do you want to be a part of that stream of information? It's a very reactive platform. So something happens, everyone runs over there and they're talking about it. But we've kind of gotten quite a bit a ways from a bunch of people running to one person as a source, and us being able to really be able to differentiate who the people we can trust are and who the people who are just really popular, right? And maybe we shouldn't trust them too much. And because of that uncertainty, it makes it really difficult for brands to manage that in a way that is effective, that gives any real return on investment. So I would say, based on your industry, if you feel like, hey, it doesn't really serve me to show up in this space all the time, just talking and responding, unless you find that that type of interaction leads people back into your pipeline some kind of way, if that's the case, by all means, the answer is yes. If it is not the case, then no matter how much you like it as an individual, it is not the space for you. Also, is your audience there? Are they engaging there? If that answer is no, and you can Google X demographics 2024, the platform formerly known as Twitter, whatever, what their demographics are. And if that overlaps with the audience that you're after, then cool, hang out there, see what's up. If not, move on.
Thank you for that. Shelly D'Angelo is having trouble getting any organic reach. Friends don't even see the content and they post all the time. How do you get past the Facebook algorithm to push posts to a new audience?
I almost want to pull up that one slide.
I know. You know what? We'll send them the link to that too.
So
Yeah.
the slide I'm referring to, especially on Facebook, so I'm actually glad that you said the platform in that. So in one of our webinars for a particular group, we were talking about Facebook, and I try to free people, right? I try to say to people, hey, it's not you. And this is one of the spaces that I find myself having to say that. Facebook from Meta, from their website, they say that Facebook pages on average get 0.07% engagement. And that's an important metric for us as small business owners, because we think that we're working and we're trying and we're trying, and it's something that we are doing. So I want you to know that that is not a you thing, that's a Meta thing. Now, the follow-up question that I anticipate is, or what's the point of me being there? One, Facebook is inevitable in the grand scheme of social media. It's like the website of social media, right? And it does have a value for us. So while it does not give us a ton of engagement, there is great paid advertising in that space. But also, when people go to validate who we are and what we do and what we offer, Facebook still gets looked at. One thing that's great for you to use in that space from your business page is making sure that you're using that chat function really well. Typically, when people want to talk to you, when they have a question, Facebook is one of the first places that they go. Do not know why we are like that as humans, but that's typically the case. So just making sure that you're still utilizing it, but also, again, that question of, is my audience there? Do the demographics match with my target audience? If that's the case, then do try to work on things that are more engaging, strengthen your calls to action, say, hey, comment if, like if, share if, go to this site, and really see if you can get people, kind of train them to respond to you. But I do want you to know that that's not just you. That's an everybody issue, unfortunately. That does happen. So utilize it in a way that makes sense, but also recognize that that's not just you. So hopefully that's helpful. It's a little frustrating, but hopefully it's helpful to know it's not just you.
So Celia Daniels posted earlier in the chat about navigating political noise, particularly if you are an LGBTQ business owner. You know, that can bring on some of the negativity we talked about, right? And tarnish your reputation. I guess a lot of it speaks to the earlier conversation around trolling and handling negative feedback.
So, and I want to make sure I understand this, so you may have to clarify a little bit for me in the chat. Are we saying that because of things that are happening in politics, people are coming our way? Or when you say navigating the political noise, give me a little bit more clear of what's happening or what you feel like is happening in that space.
So we'll keep an eye out. If Celia's still with us, we'll keep an eye out.
Okay, I see it. She says disagreement. And I'm gonna keep kind of digging down just because of their faith. Got you. So we're talking about people who want to come say something about how they feel, even though you didn't ask them. Is that pretty accurate? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here are a few things that I would recommend. So this is me putting on my "you are my client" hat, right? Anytime, and this is for anyone, right? Anytime that you are in a community of people who typically have to deal with, and this falls under kind of, hate messaging, right? People are coming, they're saying this stuff to you. You didn't ask them about that, and maybe you are leading with that in your marketing. So you're saying, hey, we are an LGBTQ plus IA. I think I got all of them. It's grown over my lifetime. We're leading with that because just like we say Black owned or woman owned or veteran owned, right?
Yep.
We're saying all of those things that, like, hey, this is the kind of, I got it backwards. I got it kind of right. Okay.
Close.
I was like, I got the plus in the wrong place. I think that's just how it's added over my lifetime. So you may be leading with that in your messaging. One, that's completely okay. All right. That's a good thing. I think in that messaging on a proactive side that I would make sure to say that, hey, we, granted, who we are, what we stand for, what we believe, what our lifestyle is, whatever the case is, we don't discriminate against, other people. We love for all of you to come and, patronize us or whatever the case is. We will not tolerate messaging that is hateful. We will not tolerate disrespect for people. It's okay for you to say that. And most of these platforms will allow you to pin a post at the top that says, here are things that we do not believe in. We don't believe in talking down about people. We don't believe in doing these types of things. We believe that everyone deserves not, like, you can just say that and pin it somewhere and say, listen, now what this does for you as far as reputation management goes is that it says, one, disarms some people to say, I'm not here to fight with you. actually, what I choose to do has nothing to do with you, but I can't necessarily say it like that. But I do want to say, hey, while we are this is who we are, and we understand that that might be challenging for some of you, but we will respect you. We ask that you respect us. In this space, we ask that you respect our customers. We ask that you respect each other. We do not have to agree for you to respect each other. Miss us with that, right? Whatever your brand tone, I might say miss us with that, but that might not be how you say it. So you could say that. And then what we hope is that when people come underneath and they start doing all the things, that post was already there. That's proactive, right? It's already there. And if you feel like you need to get in the comments and you're building that guide for reputation management and there's a negative comment, you can say, hey, we appreciate you coming over to our space and spending time with us. However, if you would look up to that top post, pinned post as a reminder, we do not tolerate this type of thing, and move on. And if you need to add, if it happens a lot, if you need to add, and we will block you. And if that's a part of your process, block them. They'll find someone else to harass, which hopefully they have they've built something for themselves, but you don't have to tolerate any of that. That's not how the world works. People don't get to agree with everything. And so you should stand up for yourself and put it out there to be proactive, and then just decide what your very short, concise reaction is going to be. I hope that helps.
Thank you for that. Nicole has a question about how to leverage positive client feedback. Their clients provide survey feedback anonymously based on performance with the customers, the end customers, and 5-star rating, which is huge. So what are the best ways to market that? And if it's anonymous, I imagine you don't need any sort of permissions, so you can just aggregate it, right?
You don't need permission. However, we do want to ask for it in some respect. So on your surveys, I would just say having a little agreement tab. That's where that little checkbox that none of us read comes up, where we're like, yeah, I agree, whatever, submit. But as long as you feel confident and everyone's good to go, or you have that agreement, that kind of thing, then it's full-blown copy and paste at that point. We want to make graphics that have the words. And you can always encourage people to give you something if they want to do a video, that kind of thing, but you should be using those if they're describing their experience. If you have data from those surveys, if you have service, if you say, hey, we serviced 100 people in the last 6 months and 99 of them gave us a 5-star rate, like use those numbers to continue to be proactive. It's a full-blown copy and paste, right? Doesn't have to be much more than that. I think that a kind of higher level, higher tier marketing things would be, if you know what the review, if there's a particular service or product, then you can say, hey, using this product, right? We can be very specific so that people know, hey, you want to feel this way? Go buy this thing, right? And so that's the kind of sneaky, give me your money that goes with also, look how great we are. But you should just be copying and pasting those. Get you a nice little template, going through, a Canva or Ad Designer from MasterCard's Digital Doors site, and just make you a template, copy, paste, change them out, use them, make that a part of your content publishing. Go to your website, copy, paste, make you a nice little carousel. If there's a product or service page, put it underneath. This is what our customers say. All of those ways that you can reuse and repurpose content, you want to put that hat on as you think about that. And so also kudos to you for asking in the first place, because goodness knows, not enough of us do that.
And Patty Green had a similar question. I think here you probably do want permissions. They're concerned about customer privacy, want to feature success stories in blogs. I think, a simple release form, Patty, we do this if we talk about success stories. I owe Jackie one actually, where you just have simple terms about that they are giving you permission to share their story if you're going to talk about a specific customer.
And honestly,
Yeah.
Colleen, especially in this digital world, sometimes it's as simple as asking in a public forum. So you may find now that when brands show up in your comments, let's say, if you're like me and you love Starbucks or something like that, and you're just like, oh my God, I love this. The brand may come over, great community management, and say, hey, do you mind if we use your content to share on our channels? And I'm like, absolutely, I want to be on Starbucks Instagram. What? Did you think you have to ask me that? But I guess legally you do. So yes. So you may have a very simple way of asking that, but you do want to ask if you have any concerns about privacy, if you have any concerns about, and also you just want people to feel comfortable. You don't want them to feel used, and we don't want to taint the relationship that we've built. So if you know these people well, if they've been customers for a long time, just approach them and say, hey, I really appreciate you as a customer. I would also appreciate if you would do this. Don't be afraid. Also, if you have room, offer a discount. Give them something in return. That's okay. Say, hey, I want to add a little something to your bag here in exchange for you to do a testimonial for me, or whatever the case is. Use what you have if you can. Again, if it costs you too much to do that, then that's not your suggestion. It's not for you. But otherwise, yes.
Great. Dominique asks a question we talk about a lot in these forums, which is time management and bandwidth. How do you balance everything you need to do for your brand and your marketing as a solopreneur or a micro business?
You don't. Um,
Oh, that's not the answer we want to hear.
Well, I'm about transparency.
You're honest. You're honest.
I am honest to a fault. Well, and so let me tell you what I mean by that. Let's clarify, right? I always tell people in the journey of entrepreneurship, you're going to spend one of two things. You're going to spend time or you're going to spend money. One of them you can re-up on, the other one you cannot. So how you spend your time is extremely important. The best thing that you can do as it pertains, especially as a solopreneur, and this is the whole reason I built Elevation Academy, is because we just have to make sure we're being as effective with our time as we can. And so this is going to get a little bit out of marketing, but it'll come back, I promise. Just stay with the boomerang for me. Typically, and because I'm an entrepreneur as well, I started as a solopreneur. Yes, I have a team now, but that has not always been my testimony, right? And so what I would typically do, first of all, if you're doing all of these things yourself, is you want to do a time budget. We budget our money, but usually we don't budget our time. So really pausing and saying, how much time do I actually have to spend on marketing? Because that's not maybe why you got in business. You might have gotten in business to sell mugs, candles, hair, software, who knows what you're in business for, right? But marketing was not the thing that you said you came to do. So after you've done all the things that you came to do, granted, marketing is extremely important, but it's not the thing, right? So if you're going to dedicate time to your marketing, which you should, the question is, how much time do you realistically have? And can you build some type of process around that? I have 2 hours every other day. I have 5 hours on Fridays. I have whatever the case is, and try to make that as routine as possible. Don't cancel it. Don't give it up for a meeting. Don't give it up for an event. It's one of the most important things that you can keep in dedication spaces you can keep to yourself if you are doing your marketing yourself. Within that space, having a plan, doing all this foundational stuff, scheduling your content out, scheduling things out so that if you get sick or if you get, inevitably something happens, right? Who knows what it is? Getting ahead, being able to do that is the best way to use your time. So if you're working on doing that, find time in your time budget. Number one, plan, execute, get ahead. If you can keep that rhythm, then you're going to be a great marketer. You also have to be realistic with yourself, because I promise you, what you're thinking you can get done and what you're going to get done are usually not the same thing. Ask me how I know. Because I do this for a living, but I have the same struggles.
You do.
Yeah.
I think we have time for probably one more. I just want to mention that Lakeisha had a suggestion about calendaring on this topic of time management, that they found that helpful. There's an exchange in the chat, Jackie, going back to what we were talking about earlier, hire or agency? And your question was, when you say hire, do you mean a full-time person with a W-2 or like a contract person?
Yeah, that's a great.
It's a tough, I don't know that there's one answer.
So okay, so Nick was saying full-time W-2. So check this out. Here, I am so transparent, y'all. I have to tell you the truth. Otherwise, you'll go out here in the world saying Jackie told you something crazy. So one, it's typically cheaper to outsource. So depending on where you are in your journey, typically, because if you are hiring like W-2 employee, That's something that I would do if I were hiring a W-2 employee. It's not just the money that you're giving them, it's the money you're giving them, it's the taxes. If you're offering healthcare, it's the healthcare. If there's an onboarding time, there's time that you're putting out money that you're maybe not getting work yet. So if you are in a business that is built for that and you're okay bringing someone on, I think it's great when you can have an internal marketing person, someone whose entire job is dedicated to marketing your business or brand. That's wonderful. Let me tell you why. And this is me saying this as an agency that does outsource marketing. Some of the challenges that you have with having an agency do it for you is that they are not always there. And so the quick decisions that you might want to make, quick messages that you might want to get out are suddenly not as quick. Right now, granted, we leave enough space for emergencies, or especially when COVID happened or started, depending on where you stand on the side of the fence or whether that's still happening or not. But when it began, this became a very quick message thing. We're closed, we're open, it's curbside, it's not, all of these things are quick. So we leave space for emergencies, right? But then you have the fact that you've got to get ahead as an agency, and that requires people to pause and think about their business months in advance. And with smaller businesses, sometimes it's really hard for us to do because we're so busy trying to survive yesterday that we can't think about tomorrow, right? And so then you have this third party who's like, oh, I need to know what you want me to say on March. March starts Friday. That's a real thing, by the way. March does start Friday. But so that can be a challenge for people when you're thinking about that. So if you're at a place in your business where you're like, no, I need someone to wake up, come to work, and think about marketing this brand only, get you an employee if that's something that you can afford to do. If you're not in the place to afford that yet, and you're considering outsourcing to an agency, there are a few things I want you to consider really quickly. One, be as ready as you can to describe what it is that you want from them. Because while a lot of people in the world say, I do marketing, please know I see it every day. I do marketing means so many things. To some people, I do great graphic design. To some people, I do great website stuff. And for a lot of them, it does not include strategy at all. Some people will only do strategy. So just having an understanding of what it is that you need. Are there things you can do for yourself that you just need a collaborator with? So some people who come to us may say, hey, I need social media management. Great. But if they say to me, I'll take my photos and I'll do the videos and all of that, I really just need you to help me with the captions and making sure everything gets posted and whatever, suddenly they're paying less money because now I don't have to show up, or someone on my team has to show up and video and photo and all of that. So there may be things that you can handle that you would prefer to handle, and just having a really good understanding of that when you have these conversations with people is important. So if you are considering an agency, really think about that in a hybrid space. Ask them the questions about what's your turnaround time? Do you have a process around requests? All of those things that might play into how you want to do business. So just make sure you're asking those questions as you vet an agency or an individual. This might be, a consultant or a person who is a solopreneur who's offering these services. That's how I started. Just make sure you're ready to ask those questions and let that guide you, and get someone who fits well with you, not only in how they do business, but also their personality, because it's going to get stressful. That's the nature of marketing. It's front facing. It's the first thing that your customers see. And so you get really, really antsy about it. And I know that. Ask me how I know. And so you want to be able to work with people whose personalities match with yours as best as possible, who you can trust to show up for you in a way that makes sense. So just when you're having those conversations, think about those things. But if you can afford it, get you somebody in there.
Thank you so much. I have to thank Jackie. Every time I'm in these sessions with you, I learn something new. Your energy is amazing. I hope you all got a lot out of this. I can see by the number of folks we still have with us, nearly 2 hours out, that there's a lot of engagement. We've stopped sending, we do not have a follow-up survey ourselves for this because we rarely get responses. It's just tough. Everybody's busy. But anyone who'd like to put additional comments in the chat, we keep a log of those. Please let us know if this is helpful, if you'd like to see more from Jackie. We wish we could clone her, but we can't. She's a busy, busy woman. But please let us know what you thought about the session, and we look forward to, we're trying to have these once a month. I hope that evening time is best for all of you because you're so busy running your businesses. So look for additional emails from us for other topics coming up. Any closing thoughts, Jackie?
One, let me just thank you all for your attention. I put the link to the LinkedIn post where I put that image I told you I would if y'all want to keep talking to me, because clearly I can talk all night. So I put the link to that if you all want to go and talk a little bit more. Even though Colleen said they're not sending out a survey, I encourage you to get on that chat, on that post, and talk about how great MasterCard Digital Doors
Oh, thank you.
was, just for even think, because this was actually them listening to you all to say, hey, this is something people really say they need or they want to hear about. As much as I like to take credit for that, I cannot. So this is them doing the work that they say that they're going to do, which is show up for small businesses in this way. And I really appreciate that as a small business owner. So my only final thought is just thank you, Colleen, and to all the MasterCard crew for all the support that you all give me as a small business owner, seriously, and also for the opportunity and trusting me with your audience. I always appreciate that.
Fantastic. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Bye.